To add an animation to the Sidedrawer, I'll install a new third-party library with npm install -- save, and the name of that library is react-transition-group. I explain it in more details in my React the Complete Guide course. It is simply a library that makes it easy for us to play a little animation if we add an item to the DOM, so to say, if we render an item for the first time, or if we then remove it. That is where this library helps us. So let's wait for it to finish installing. And now that it is installed, we can restart our development server with npm start and use that library here in Sidedrawer. For that, import something from React transition group, and that something is the CSS transition component. So that's a component provided by this third-party library. It's a component you should wrap around this aside element here. So CSS transition can be used as a component in JSX and is wrapped around aside. Now here we need to configure that. We need to tell this library when exactly this Sidedrawer becomes visible. We do this with the in prop on CSS transition, and I want to bind this to props show. So I expect to get a show prop on the Sidedrawer, which we don't get at the moment, but which we have to add, which in the end is true if the Sidedrawer should be visible, and false if it should be invisible, if it should be removed. I'll add a timeout, which is the duration of the animation, and here I'll set this to 200 milliseconds. And a class names property. Important, class names, not class name, class names. It's a special prop accepted by this component. And this should be slide-in/left, which in the end is a CSS animation defined in index CSS. You can see it there. It's a couple of CSS classes with -enter, -interactive, and so on at the end. And these are special class names which this third-party library knows how to use and which it applies in sequence when it animates the element in or animates it out. Now last but not least, I'll add mount on enter and unmount on exit to tell that component and the third-party library that the aside component, which is inside of the CSS transition component, should really be added to the DOM or be removed from the DOM when it should become visible or invisible. Otherwise, it's just animated out or in and not really removed. Here, I want to have it removed or added depending on its state. So now we just have to make sure we use this show prop properly. So to Sidedrawer, we should pass a show prop. So back in main navigation, I'll change the logic on how the Sidedrawer is rendered. It's now always part of JSX, but it's not always visible because now we set that show prop and set this to drawer is open, which is true or false. And then inside of Sidedrawer, we have the logic to control whether the drawer is visible or not. So if we now save this and let it recompile, now we can click this button, and now you see you have a nice little in and out animation when you open the drawer. On desktop mode, of course, this has no effect. There, everything worked before. But now we also have a nice working mobile view. And with that out of the way, I'd say this doesn't look too bad. Now we can go back to more logic related to our core application. For example, show the places for a chosen user. Now, one thing I noticed, of course, that's missing on our Sidedrawer is at the moment when we click on one of the links, it stays open. It navigates to the new page, but we manually have to close it by clicking on the background, which is not ideal. Fixing it is easy though. In the Sidedrawer component, on the aside, we can add an onClick listener, so to say, so this onClick prop, which is basically supported on any default HTML element, and then forward this event, so to say, or the function we want to call to props onClick. Or put in other words, we expect that on the Sidedrawer component, we get a function passed to the onClick prop of the Sidedrawer component, and we then pass that function we get there onto the onClick prop on the aside element. So in the place where we use the Sidedrawer, which is the main navigation, we now also have to add this onClick prop we're expecting there, and there we can point at close drawer, just like this. And I will also rename my functions here to onDrawer handler and close drawer handler whilst I'm at it, just to be consistent with the naming I use in the other places of the app, where I always name the functions that are called upon events with handler at the end. So with that, if we now save this and we go back, you will see if we click on a drawer, it closes, but therefore also when we click on one of the links, we get navigated there, but we also close the drawer, which of course is the goal.